The massive Zephyrian survey ship moved slowly through space like a giant crystal floating in the darkness. Its clear walls caught the light from a small yellow sun and threw it back in rainbow colors. Inside the ship, Commander Veltar stood in front of a big screen that showed a round blue and green planet covered with white clouds. "We finished looking at the planet," said his helper, a tall alien with 4 arms and silver skin. "There are living things down there. Small creatures that walk on 2 legs. They use rocks as tools. Very simple. Not smart enough to build anything important." Veltar moved his long fingers across the glowing buttons in front of him. He was writing down what they found in the big computer that kept track of all the planets in their part of space. Far below them on the planet, groups of early humans sat around small fires. They hit rocks together to make sharp pieces they could use for cutting. These humans had no idea that strange beings from another world were watching them from high above. The humans looked very different from the aliens on the ship. They had hair on their heads and faces. Their skin was dark from the sun. They wore animal skins to keep warm. When they talked to each other, they used simple sounds and hand movements. They spent most of their time looking for food and hiding from dangerous animals. "How long do you think it will take them to get smart?" Veltar asked his science helper. The science officer looked at his notes and shook his head. "A very long time. Maybe 2 or 3 million years before they learn to make things from metal. I do not think they will ever learn to fly in space. Their heads are too small. They cannot think about hard math problems." Veltar believed what his helper said. The Zephyrians had been flying between stars for millions of years. They had seen many different kinds of life on thousands of planets. Most creatures never became smart enough to build machines or leave their home worlds. These humans looked like all the other animals they had seen, too simple to ever become important. The commander touched a button to close the report. "We will come back to check on them in 500,000 years. Put this planet on the list of worlds that do not matter much. Now let us go to the next star." Other aliens on the ship were already getting ready to leave. They put away their tools for studying planets. The big engines at the back of the ship started to make a deep humming sound. Outside the ship, space began to bend and twist as they prepared to jump to another star system. Down on Earth, the humans could not see the alien ship. Even if they looked up at the night sky, the ship was too far away and too dark. The humans were busy with their own small problems. A mother held her baby close to keep it warm. An old man showed young boys how to make better stone knives. A group of women picked berries and roots to eat. These humans did not know about other worlds or other kinds of life. They thought their small planet was the only place where anything lived. They did not dream about flying to the stars or meeting creatures from far away. Their biggest worries were finding enough food and staying safe from wild animals. The Zephyrian ship finished getting ready to leave. The space around it became bright with strange colors as the engines opened a hole between stars. In just a few seconds, the ship would jump far away to look at other planets with other kinds of life. Before they left, Veltar took one last look at the blue planet. It was pretty, with its white clouds and deep blue oceans. The green and brown land looked peaceful. But the commander had seen many pretty planets. Most of them never became important. This one looked just like all the others, a nice place for simple animals to live, but nothing more. "Computer, make a note about this planet," Veltar said. "Planet number 3 around Star Sol. Home to early mammals. Very basic tool use. No signs of intelligence. No chance of space travel. Check again in 500,000 years." The computer made a soft beep sound as it saved the information. In its memory, Earth became just another entry in a huge list of worlds that were not very interesting. The Zephyrians had thousands of planets to watch. Earth was now one of the least important ones. The ship jumped through space and disappeared, leaving Earth alone under its yellow sun. The humans below kept doing what they always did. They made fires, looked for food, and took care of their children. They had no idea that visitors from the stars had just decided they would never amount to anything important. 500,000 years seemed like forever to the aliens, but they lived much longer than humans. To them, it was like waiting just a short time. They expected that when they came back, they would find the same simple creatures doing the same basic things with rocks and sticks. The Zephyrians were very sure they were right about Earth. They had studied millions of planets and thousands of different kinds of life. They knew how evolution worked and how long it took for animals to become intelligent. These humans on Earth were no different from countless other species they had seen, and most of those other species had never advanced beyond using simple tools. As the ship traveled to other stars, Earth spun quietly through space, its small population of early humans completely unaware that their entire future had just been written off as unimportant by beings from another world. 500,000 years had passed since the Zephyrian ship left Earth behind. In a space station far from any star, an alien named Ralven sat at his desk watching screens full of numbers and lights. His job was to look for unusual things happening in different parts of the galaxy. Most days, nothing interesting happened. But today was different. Ralven had green skin and big black eyes that could see many colors humans could not see. He worked at Deep Space Monitor Station Kepler-7, a huge metal building that floated in empty space between the stars. The station was full of powerful machines that could detect energy and movement from very far away. Suddenly, all the lights on his screen started flashing red. Numbers were changing so fast he could barely read them. The computer was making loud beeping sounds. Something was very wrong, or very surprising. "Sir," Ralven called to his boss, his voice shaking with confusion. "I am seeing huge amounts of energy coming from the Sol system. The numbers are so big they do not make sense." His boss was Commander Thexar, a strange creature that looked like a big jellyfish with arms. Thexar could float through the air instead of walking. When he heard Ralven's worried voice, he quickly floated over to look at the screen. His tentacles moved in worried patterns as he read the numbers. The energy readings were enormous. They showed power levels that only the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy could produce. These were the kinds of numbers they saw from planets that had been building technology for millions of years. But Sol system was supposed to be empty except for simple animals. "Check the machines," Thexar ordered. "Maybe they are broken. These numbers say there is a very advanced civilization in Sol system, but our records show Sol 3 was just a planet with primitive creatures. That was only yesterday in our time counting." Ralven ran tests on all their equipment. He checked every wire, every computer, every sensor. Everything was working perfectly. The readings were real. Something in the Sol system was making as much energy as the most powerful worlds in their space empire. The impossible seemed to be happening. The forgotten world that they had marked as unimportant was now showing signs of incredible technology. The energy patterns suggested huge artificial structures, power sources bigger than anything the aliens had ever built, and technologies that were beyond even their understanding. "Send an emergency message to the High Council," Thexar commanded. The colored spots on his skin started glowing brightly, which happened when he was very excited or worried. "Tell them something impossible has happened. Sol 3 has woken up, and they are far more advanced than we ever thought they could be." The message traveled across the galaxy faster than light, jumping from one communication station to another. Within hours, it reached the most important leaders of the Zephyrian Concordat. These were the aliens who made decisions for thousands of worlds and billions of creatures. When the leaders received the message, they could not believe it. Emergency meetings were called on dozens of worlds. Scientists, generals, and politicians gathered in huge rooms to discuss what this could mean. On the planet Zephyr Prime, the home world of the aliens who had first discovered Earth, hundreds of experts came together. They brought out the old records from 500,000 years ago. The reports clearly said that Sol 3 had primitive mammals using stone tools. The scientists had predicted it would take millions of years for them to develop any real technology. Dr. Kexnai, an old scientist who studied how different species evolved, stood in front of the group. Her forearms moved as she talked, pointing at pictures and charts. "This should not be possible," she said. "No species has ever developed this quickly. From stone tools to stellar engineering in 500,000 years? It goes against everything we know about evolution and technology development." Other scientists nodded in agreement. They had studied thousands of different species on millions of planets. The fastest any species had ever developed was still much slower than what seemed to be happening on Earth. General Vorthake, a large warrior with thick armor covering his body, was worried about different things. If they develop this quickly, what kind of species are they? Are they dangerous? Could they be a threat to the Concordat? The room became quiet as everyone thought about this. Throughout their long history, the Zephyrians had always been the most advanced civilization they knew. They had never encountered a species that could surprise them like this. Meanwhile, back at the monitoring station, more impossible readings kept coming in. The energy signatures suggested not just advanced technology, but technologies that worked in ways the aliens could not understand. Whatever the humans had built, it was using principles of science that the Concordat had never discovered. Ralven kept watching his screens, afraid to look away. Every few minutes, new data came in that made the situation seem even more incredible. There were structures in space around Earth that seemed to be generating their own gravity. There were energy patterns that suggested the humans had learned to manipulate the basic forces of the universe itself. How is this possible? Ralven whispered to himself. Commander Thexar floated beside him, equally amazed. I do not know, he answered. But we are about to find out. The High Council is sending a fleet to investigate. We may be witnessing the rise of a new galactic power. Across the galaxy, as word spread about the awakening of Sol 3, millions of alien beings wondered the same thing. The primitive world they had forgotten had somehow become something extraordinary, and no one could explain how or why. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his huge warship as it came out of hyperspace near the Sol system. He was a tall alien with blue skin and 6 eyes that could see in all directions. Behind him were dozens of other ships filled with soldiers and scientists. They had come to investigate the strange energy readings from this forgotten world. The Admiral expected to find chaos. Maybe primitive humans fighting with crude weapons, or a young civilization that had accidentally discovered dangerous technology. Instead, what he saw made his 6 eyes widen in shock. A beautiful ship was waiting for them in the darkness of space. It was clearly made by humans, but it looked nothing like the simple machines his people had expected. The ship was smooth and curved like a living creature. Its surface seemed to change colors as cosmic dust and starlight touched it. Suddenly, a voice came through their communication system. The voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, the language that all advanced civilizations use to talk to each other. This should have been impossible. Admiral, the voice said in a friendly tone. Welcome to the Sol system. I am Captain Kim Jae-wook of the Earth Defense Vessel Harmony. We have been waiting for you to arrive. The alien bridge became completely silent. Every creature stopped what they were doing and stared at each other with amazement. How could these humans speak their language? How did they even know the Zephyrian fleet was coming? The ships had traveled through hyperspace, which was supposed to be impossible to detect. Admiral Kethvar tried to keep his voice calm, but inside he was very confused. Captain Kim, he said carefully, our old records say your people were very primitive when we last visited your world. A warm laugh came through the communication device. It was the kind of laugh someone makes when they hear something funny but not mean. That was a very long time ago, Admiral. Maybe we could meet face to face on your ship? I think we have many interesting things to talk about. Oh, and Admiral? We brought presents for you. The human ship began moving closer to the alien fleet. As it moved, the Zephyrians made gasping sounds of surprise. The ship was not using rockets or engines like normal spaceships. Instead, it seemed to bend the space around itself. It moved through the darkness like a fish swimming through water, smooth and graceful in a way that seemed to break the laws of physics. The outside of the human ship was even stranger. It looked like it was alive, changing its shape slightly as radiation from stars hit it. The surface seemed to be protecting itself and adapting to the dangerous environment of space. How are they doing that? Whispered one of the alien officers. Before Admiral Kethvar could answer, something even more impossible happened. 3 humans suddenly appeared on the alien bridge. They had not used transporters or shuttles. They had not walked through doors. One moment the bridge was empty of humans, and the next moment they were standing there, smiling politely. The lead human was a woman with short black hair and kind eyes. She wore a uniform that seemed to be made of material the aliens had never seen before. It looked simple but moved like it was alive, adjusting to keep her comfortable. Hello, she said, bowing slightly in a respectful way. I am Captain Kim Jae-wook. This is Dr. Park Min-ho, who studies different kinds of life, and Engineer Lee Soyoung, who designs our ships. The aliens stared at the 3 humans. Dr. Park was a middle-aged man with glasses that seemed to show information in the air above them. Engineer Lee was a young woman whose clothes had tiny lights moving through them like a gentle river. 500,000 years is a very long time, Captain Kim said with a warm smile. We have been quite busy during all those years. Admiral Kethvar found his voice again, though he was still shocked. How did you get onto our ship? How did you know we were coming? How do you speak our language? Captain Kim looked at her 2 companions, and they shared a look that seemed to say they had expected these questions. Those are all very good questions, Admiral. The answers might surprise you, but they are not difficult to explain if you have time to listen. Dr. Park stepped forward. We have been watching the galaxy for a long time. We learned your languages by listening to your communications. We detected your fleet because we have learned to sense disturbances in hyperspace. And as for how we got here, he smiled. We have learned to move through quantum space. It is like taking a shortcut through reality itself. Engineer Lee added, our ship brought us here instantly by folding space. It is hard to explain in words, but easy to show if you are interested. The alien crew looked at each other nervously. These humans were using technologies that the Concordat did not understand. They spoke calmly about bending space and moving through quantum reality as if these were simple things. You said you brought gifts, Admiral Kethvar said, trying to understand what kind of beings they were dealing with. Yes, Captain Kim nodded. We brought medical supplies that can heal diseases you consider incurable. We brought clean energy technology that could power your worlds without pollution. And we brought something more valuable than either of those. What? The Admiral asked. Friendship, Captain Kim replied simply. We would like to be friends with your people and all the peoples of the galaxy. We have learned many things during our long development, and we would be happy to share them with civilizations that want to grow and learn together. The bridge remained quiet as the aliens tried to process what they were hearing. These humans were not the primitive creatures from their old reports. They had become something far beyond what anyone had imagined possible. After the first meeting between humans and aliens, more important leaders from the Concordat came to visit Earth. Some of these alien leaders were not happy about what they had learned. They thought the humans were too young and inexperienced to have such powerful technology. During a big meeting on one of the alien ships, several council members spoke in worried voices. These humans need our help, said one alien with multiple heads. They are too new to understand how to use their power properly. We should guide them and teach them the right way to be part of our galactic community. Another alien leader, who looked like a giant insect with crystal wings, agreed. Yes, they need proper integration. We have been running the galaxy for millions of years. They should learn from us and follow our rules. The human representatives sat quietly listening to this discussion. Dr. Choi Hyun-woo, who had been chosen as Earth's first ambassador to the aliens, looked at his companions. They shared meaningful glances that seemed to say they had expected this kind of response. Dr. Choi stood up slowly and smiled politely. Perhaps, he said in a calm voice, a demonstration would be more helpful than long discussions with words. The alien leaders agreed, thinking they would see crude human technology that they could easily improve upon. They had no idea what they were about to witness. Captain Yoon Ji-hai, a woman with silver hair and bright intelligent eyes, guided the group of alien visitors to special ships that would take them around Earth's solar system. As they flew closer to Earth, the aliens saw something that made them gasp in amazement. Huge cities floated in space around the planet. These were not the metal and concrete structures that most civilizations built. Instead, they looked like living things that had grown naturally. The surfaces of these space cities were covered with plants and trees that somehow lived and breathed in the vacuum of space. Gardens and forests grew on the outside walls, creating beautiful patterns of green and gold. These cities make more energy than entire star systems in our territory, Captain Yoon explained as they flew between the floating structures. But they do not take energy from somewhere else. They create it by working together with natural forces. The aliens pressed their faces against the windows of the ship. They could not understand how plants could grow in space, or how cities could generate so much power without huge machines and factories. Everything looked peaceful and natural, not like the industrial complexes they were used to seeing. Next, Engineer Kang Taijin took the visitors inside one of the medical centers. The aliens expected to see hospitals with beds and machines like their own civilizations used. Instead, they found quiet rooms filled with soft light where humans lay peacefully while their bodies were being healed and improved. Watch this, Engineer Kang said, pointing to an old human man with gray hair and wrinkled skin. As they watched, the man's hair began to turn dark again. His wrinkles smoothed away. His bent back straightened. In just a few minutes, he looked like a young man again. We do not just fix diseases, Engineer Kang explained. We have learned to guide our own growth and development. We can reverse aging, repair damaged genes, and help people become stronger and smarter if they choose to. In another room, they saw humans who were growing extra arms to help them work better, or developing new senses that let them see colors that did not exist before. Some humans were learning to communicate directly with plants and animals. The alien visitors were stunned. Their own medical technology could cure many diseases, but they could not reverse aging or consciously evolve new abilities. This was beyond anything they had imagined possible. But the biggest surprise came when Admiral Park Sang-min demonstrated the human space fleet. The alien leaders expected to see ships with big engines and weapons, like their own military vessels. Instead, they watched human ships do things that seemed to break the basic laws of physics. The human ships did not just travel faster than light. They seemed to fold space and time around themselves. One ship disappeared from one location and appeared in another place so quickly that it seemed to arrive before it had left its starting point. Your ships use engines and fuel to push through space, Admiral Park explained as his vessel moved in impossible ways around them. Our ships ask space to move for them. We do not fight against the forces of the universe. We work together with them. The ships were controlled not by buttons and levers, but by the thoughts and feelings of their crews. When a captain wanted to go somewhere, the ship understood and took them there. The relationship between human and machine was more like a friendship than simple tool use. Dr. Nam Yoonji, a wise woman who studied both science and philosophy, spoke to the amazed alien visitors. Your civilizations conquered nature, she said gently. You built machines to force the universe to do what you wanted. We learned to dance with nature instead. We asked the universe to teach us its secrets, and it did. She gestured toward Earth, beautiful and green below them. Your technologies fight against entropy and decay. Our technologies learn to partner with the basic forces of reality. We do not take power, we receive it as a gift from the cosmos itself. The alien observers floated in their ships, watching in awe as the humans showed them achievement after achievement that their science said should be impossible. The humans had developed advancement without destroying their world, incredible power without conquering others, and technology that made consciousness stronger rather than replacing it with machines. For the first time in millions of years, the aliens realized they were not the most advanced beings in the galaxy. These humans had found a completely different path to development, one that the Concordat had never imagined could exist. News about humanity's incredible abilities spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On thousands of worlds, alien leaders held emergency meetings to discuss what this meant for their civilizations. Most were amazed and curious, but some were frightened and angry. The Croxian Empire was the most aggressive civilization in the galaxy. They had built their power by conquering weaker worlds and taking their resources. When they heard about Earth's advanced technology, they became very worried. If humans were really as powerful as the report said, it could threaten the Croxians' control over their territory. Emperor Groxtal, the leader of the Croxian Empire, was a massive creature covered in black armor with glowing red eyes. He slammed his huge fist on the table during a war council meeting. We cannot let these humans become stronger, he growled. We must attack them before they attack us. His generals agreed. They gathered their largest fleet of warships and headed toward Earth. These ships carried the most powerful weapons in Croxian space, planet-killing bombs, energy cannons that could destroy moons, and virus weapons that could wipe out entire populations. When the Croxian fleet arrived at Earth, they immediately began firing everything they had at the planet. Thousands of deadly missiles and energy beams streaked through space toward the blue world. The Croxians expected to see explosions and destruction. Instead, something impossible happened. All of their weapons simply disappeared. The missiles, the energy beams, the deadly viruses, everything was absorbed by an invisible field around Earth. The weapons did not explode or cause any damage at all. It was as if the planet had swallowed them completely. Then the Croxians received a message from Earth. Thank you for the energy donation, came a calm human voice. We have converted your weapon energy into clean power and sent it to the orphanages on Kepler 442b and the hospitals on Vega Prime. The children there will have warm meals tonight because of your gift. The Croxian warriors stared at their screens in horror. Not only had Earth defended itself without firing back, but the humans had turned their attack into help for innocent people across the galaxy. This was completely beyond anything they could understand. Meanwhile, on the Great Space Station where the Galactic Assembly met, President Oh Seung-ho of Earth stood before thousands of alien representatives. He was a tall man with kind eyes and gray hair who spoke in a voice that was both gentle and strong. Behind him stood his most trusted advisors, General Kim Min-jun, a military leader who had never fought a war, Dr. Lim Yujin, a scientist who had helped develop humanity's healing technologies, and Ambassador Seo Dong-hyun, a diplomat who spoke dozens of alien languages. We offer partnership, not control, President Oh announced to the gathered aliens. His words were translated into thousands of different languages so every creature could understand. Our knowledge, our technology, our discoveries, they belong to all thinking beings who want to grow together instead of fighting each other. The Great Assembly Hall became very quiet. This was something that had never happened before in galactic history. Every civilization they knew kept their best technology secret and used it to gain advantage over others. The idea of freely sharing advanced knowledge seemed impossible to believe. Some worlds responded immediately with excitement. The peaceful Andronian Republic sent messages saying they would love to learn from humans. The scholarly vegan collective offered to exchange knowledge and culture. But other civilizations were suspicious and worried. "How do we know you are telling the truth?" asked Ambassador Threxnin from the Centauri Federation. "Every powerful species we have known has eventually used their strength to control others. Why should you be different?" Dr. Hanbora, Earth's Minister of Galactic Development, stepped forward. She was a middle-aged woman with a warm smile who had spent her life helping other people. "We will start with small things," she said. "Medical help for your colony worlds. Fixing damaged environments on planets that have been polluted. Educational programs for your young people. You can judge us by what we do, not by what we say." And that is exactly what happened. Over the next 10 years, everything in the galaxy began to change in ways no one had expected. Wars that had been going on for thousands of years suddenly ended when human mediators like Jung Wujin arrived to help. Jung was a quiet man who had learned to help people understand each other even when they spoke different languages and had completely different ways of thinking. He could sit with leaders who had been enemies for generations and help them find solutions that worked for everyone. Planets that had been dying from pollution and resource depletion were brought back to life by teams led by engineer Kim Haiwon. She was a young woman who understood how to work with natural systems instead of fighting against them. Under her guidance, dead worlds became green and alive again. The fear of death that had haunted every civilization for millions of years began to fade when Dr. Shin Jae-hyun made his life extension treatments available to everyone. People who had been old and sick became young and healthy again. Families that had been separated by death were reunited. The old galactic concordat still existed, but it was completely different now. Instead of a few powerful civilizations controlling thousands of weaker ones, it had become a true partnership where everyone contributed their best abilities and shared in the benefits. On the bridge of the exploration ship New Dawn, Captain Yang Subin looked out at the stars as her mixed crew of humans and aliens worked together to explore the mysterious center of the galaxy. Her crew included beings from dozens of different worlds, all working as friends and equals. She thought about humanity's long journey from the primitive creatures that aliens had dismissed 500,000 years ago. Being overlooked and forgotten had actually been humanity's greatest advantage. While other species had focused on conquest and competition, humans had learned cooperation and growth. Sometimes being underestimated was exactly what was needed to become something truly extraordinary.